All right,
Right,
guys,
mate.
welcome to Break the Chain. Hello, Kyle Walker. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Doing very well indeed under the circumstances. Thank you.
Excellent. I heard Kyle on his podcast because you interviewed Brad Thornton, who had just climbed Scaffold Pike, which is England's highest mountain, with a rowing machine on his back. It's a
You
fairly
did, yeah.
valiant effort, and yeah, you caught my attention just with your mindset and your outlook on life, which is quite unusual considering the area that you live in.
Thank
Um,
you.
so you've got a company called Positive Connections, which is well, you can tell me what that's about. But what I'm really interested in is your story. I've heard a bit about your story, and it sounds like it's been challenging at times. So I just wonder if you could run me through that.
Well, yeah, my story, positive connections came from the my entire journey through life. So, um, I grew up sort of like adopted. So I was adopted into a family, and I always grew up with a sense of rejection, a sense of like not understanding, because I saw all these families around me. I was told that there was like no other love on the planet like your mother's love, and my birth mum had obviously done some quite severe circumstances to have me taken away from her. She actually set a hotel room on fire with me inside of it while she was high on drugs. So when I was adopted, I don't know, I rebelled against the system. I rebelled against people. I rebelled against anyone who tried to get close to me because I just always felt like this sense of rejection. So I went on a big path of destruction, growing up through my teens and into my twenties, into my mid 20s even. A lot of drug use, a lot of fighting, a lot of I was bad to people. I manipulated people to try and get my to take what I could from them. I was always just out for myself all the time because I had this belief that people were just there to come and go. No one was ever going to be around for long. So I just took that sort of like sense of understanding through my early part of life, and yeah, it was a destructive time.
Yeah, I can't even say I can imagine because I can't, but I can just sort of begin to speculate how difficult that must be. I've spoke to so many people with abandonment issues, and one thing that I find really interesting, because you seem to have turned a massive corner in that sense, just with your mindset. You seem like a an absolute force of positivity that doesn't seem like you're going to be turning around any time, which is so inspirational to see. One
Thank you.
thing that I would like to ask you is, do you think that it's essential to understand trauma to actually be able to overcome that? And not necessarily just understand trauma, but one thing that, I mean, even within myself, with my own like drug addiction and my own self-destructive behavior that I have, is I think, why the fuck am I like this?
Mm.
And do you think you need to know exactly why it all happened and understand the psychology of the people who've done those things to you as well?
I think first and foremost is the other people to a degree don't matter when it comes down to their psychology, because once you understand your own psychology and you understand your own mindset and you understand your own way of thinking and that voice in the head, you then start to sort of like understand other people's, because we are all conditioned in the same sort of society where we're made to believe that we need things external from us to make us feel good. We need something outside of us to make us feel loved, to feel wanted, to feel pretty, to feel successful. So I think the actual tunnel of the conditioning itself is quite similar, just due to the structure of society itself. But yeah, I think first and foremost you have to understand trauma, and you have to. When I was growing up, and I was doing bad things, there'd be a lot of people in my life. Not many, sorry, should I say? Not a lot of people, not many, Very few, when I did bad things, would say to me, Kyle, there's someone so much better inside of you. I see someone inside of you who's loving and caring. And I think it was just because I was projecting my pain on other people. And deep inside, I was that lost little child that just wanted someone to love me, someone to be proud of me. But I used to do bad things to people, and I used to go home, and I never used to sit there and go, "Oh man, that told them, fuck them. I'm glad I did that." I used to go home and cry, man. I used to be so depressed with my behaviour, and I'd think to myself all the time, "Why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep doing this?" But I did what a lot of people do and I was blaming everything outside of myself. I was like, it's because of my adoption. It's because life keeps dealing me these cards. Life keeps bringing me these bad circumstances. And the shift in mindset was when I started looking at, well, the reality that's being projected that I'm seeing is a reflection of my reactions and responses, my anger, my frustration, my torment, my desire to just want to survive. So my life reality was just a reflection of that. So yeah, I think that you have to don't think about just reading one book and being rigid minded. And a lot of people do like NLP and do these cognitive behavioral therapy, and they become very rigid minded in an academic way. So they read from one book and they believe that everybody will be able to get to this destination by these rules and regulations that this book has told me, and they have no acceptance of like other people's opinions or perceptions or other routes or other ways. So I think you've got to be very careful. I think self-education about your own mind and about yourself will put you on the path that you need to be on, the pathway, the purpose of life. Everything that you need to know is all around you. Yeah. You just got to ask the right people. You've got to read the right books. Everything starts within. Everything starts within everything.
I found that within the sort of world of psychology, things are very limited, and they can only take you so far. And they'll get to a point where I just start to ruminate, and I just go around and round and round, and there's no sort of like clear fundamental ways to actually navigate out of that chaos. To actually, I know that you meditate a lot and stuff, and it's only, transcendental meditation. Transcend means to actually remove yourself from the mind, and that all those problems actually happen within the mind. So I just don't understand how, without doing these spiritual practices, how people can actually sincerely make a difference in their own life. Do you think that without that you could have got yourself into a happy space?
Yeah, I agree. I think that what a lot of people can do, you can go to these counselling sessions to these professionals which have qualifications on paper, and they will tell you the same thing. They will tell you the things that the book at university told them to say. They do not express anything with a broader understanding of everybody. Everybody deals with trauma differently. I don't get to decide whether I've hurt somebody just as much as they don't get to decide whether they've hurt me. Everybody lives life at their level of understanding. So you cannot regulate that mindset with a one-dimensional way of thinking. You have to broaden your own perspective, because we all kind of know deep within, we know what we need to work on. We know what's destructive in our life, what we are doing, what the destructive behaviors, be it be alcoholism, drug addiction, aggressiveness. People are very aggressive, man. People don't understand how much aggression can cause such an aggressive reaction. But every time that aggressive reaction happens, they go, well, why has that person done that? And it's like, well, it's just a projection of your reality. Is just a projection and a reflection of what you're giving, what you're putting out. You can't kill aggression with aggression. You can't. You have to give it its opposite.
Yeah.
If there's something that's aggressive, if something that's frustrating, you have to give it its. I wrote a paper about duality. You have to feed it its opposite experience, its opposing feelings and emotions. So when there's hate, you feed it love. When there's if you want to turn love into hate, you feed love hate, and you turn love into hate. So you have to feed it the opposite. There's so many parents who will have frustrated children who are doing something wrong, and the first thing the parents do is go, "Wow, what are you doing?" And it's like you're feeding frustration of a child, more frustration, expecting the result to be positive. But I mean, when I think about that, it's like, how can that ever like be an intellectual understanding in somebody's mind?
I have a few thoughts on that and things that I've learnt from sort of incredibly wise people that I've been surrounded by on those specific things. What would you consider to be the sort of cure for anger? The
Cure
opposite.
for
What's the opposite of anger?
Man, you tell me anybody who's ever been aggressive and really frustrated and pissed off who wouldn't accept and embrace a hug. It might take a few minutes, it might take 10 seconds, it might take 15 seconds, but if you're persistent with that deliverance of love and understanding, that person will calm down. That person might burst out into tears and tell you why they are frustrated and why they are angry. The more frustration and anger you put on that person, and as in, why is that person acting like that? Oh, don't you talk to me like this? Don't you speak to me that way? All you're doing is you're in what I call, in a spiritual sense, is in a battle of energy, an exchange of energy. I'll diminish your energy because you've just taken from mine. Now, because you've just diminished that person's energy, they then try and take your energy off you. But it's an unconscious cycle. I feel diminished, so I'm going to be nasty to you to draw from your energy, so you start feeling diminished. It's a battle of energy.
What someone recently explained to me, which was so profound, is the opposite of love, because love would be inherently selfless and unconditional in its sort of purest form. Everyone would sort of agree with that, wouldn't they? Completely without judgment, and it's just like this really pure, unconditional thing, where no matter what someone does, you can just be like, "I love you," no matter what. That's like in its purest form. So I always thought that the opposite of love was hate or fear, but
Fear, yeah.
but actually, the opposite of love is lust, which in terms of the Vedas means self-centered desire. So the opposite of selfless is selfish. So when we
Yeah.
don't get our own way, well, basically when we're selfish, we have expectations of the way that we think things should be for us, and because we want it a certain way, this fear actually arises out of what we want, anxiety. So that's like the cause of anxiety is us wanting things to be a certain way, and then hate comes from hate's a severe aversion to something. So when something gets in the way of what we want, it all comes down to the selfishness, which is at the center of this whole thing. When something doesn't align with what we want, they become undesirable to us. So that's when we start to hate something, when it gets in the way of the way we want. And it actually
Yeah.
comes from an anger. Also comes from us being frustrated with not getting what we want. So it all comes down to not being able to accept things as they are in every circumstance of life. Is people it's like you were saying, that you can't, everybody suffers so differently. It doesn't matter what there is in their life. One person's suffering from something so petty that the same person that's suffering from something that really is from me relatively, I would look at like that is that's some heavy shit, like someone died, or or your situation. There's someone who's had everything, who's suffering the same from what looks like nothing. It's crazy, isn't it?
It is, mate. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, everything you just spoke about there. This is where a lot of the stuff that I've learned within myself and in the books that I've read and the teachings and the actual coaches that I've had through time. It's a separation of, you've got, number one, you've got to understand you are not your thoughts. So there's a separation of the stillness and the thing that you've just been speaking about, the selfishness, expectations of others, it's all ego. It's a creation. Ego is a creation. So ego attaches itself to things. It attaches itself to circumstances. The ego has expectations of things to go a specific way, and when the ego is not appeased to whatever's happening, hasn't gone in the ways it's expected, it releases these emotional chemicals, which causes the stress and emotion. So it's not actually it's actually the ego which is the epicenter of everybody's troubles, everybody's everyday problems. The epicenter of that is ego, the attachment of this person is mine, this materialistic thing is mine, this situation must go this way because that's how I expect it to be. So when we lose things, the ego has lost a part of its identity. So when we lose a mobile phone, the ego delivers all these emotional chemicals which makes us go, oh my God, that was my phone, that was mine. And because it's created it as a part of its identity, it's created it a part of what it believes itself to be, which what most people believe themselves to be. They believe themselves to be the ego. So when you go beyond that, then to a certain degree, man, it's so peaceful to understand that you are not your thoughts. And you can bring yourself, there are techniques and ways to bring yourself to a point of, I call stillness. So I can walk down the street even now and bring myself to a state of stillness. So my mind, there's no voice in the mind. The mind isn't judgmental. It's not looking at a tree and going, oh, that's a tree. It's not thinking about last week. It's not thinking about tomorrow. I'm in that moment, in that continual and instantaneous present moment, because that is all that exists. That is all that exists. This sentence I'm saying now, gone. This one, gone. This one, gone. We think about things we did last week, last month, last year, and we're trying to change a situation that doesn't exist in our minds in this present moment, which is releasing all these chemicals and all these emotional states, and it's destroying the actual epicenter of living, which is now, the present moment, right now. Or again, we think of the future and we think about, I need to do this next week, I want to do that. Like someone's day, people wake up in the morning and they go, oh, I can't be bothered to go to work, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Oh no, I've got to.
I'm so bad.
But you're laying in bed, you're creating an experience before the experience has happened. So then when you do go to work, you are tired. When you do have to write that report, you will release them chemicals that you've told yourself you can't be bothered with, and you're upset and you're frustrated with, because you have literally spoken your day into existence before it's even happened. Before it's even come into existence, you have spoken your day into existence within this present moment.
Yeah, it really can make you suffer, can't it?
Yeah.
I found it's so hard to be present if you don't sort of have a higher taste of something. You know,
Okay.
if it were, the more self-centered you are, because the more you identify with the more you allow your ego to take the steering wheel of your life, identify with these negative thoughts, and identify with the body as well, which is one of people's biggest problems. You know, it's a beautiful thing, the ego, because it does allow you to believe that you're material. It allows you to believe that you're the body and your mind and your thoughts and all these. I'm James Deere. Well, it's bollocks. In reality, it's bollocks. But it's wonderful to be able to, you know, play this game, and have this sort of material experience, because supposedly that we're not even compatible with this material energy. The more you try and play with it, the more it sort of you suffer over and over again, don't you, for identifying with it. But knowing that you're not the mind, like you say, it's an amazing thing, and knowing you're not the body, well, fuck me, everybody suffers so badly with that. Everyone fucks about. I mean, I'm just thinking, fuck, I need a haircut. I mean, you ain't got that problem, and just shave the fucking thing off.
No,
Big up to everyone out there whose hair's getting fucking massive at the minute. It's shit, but it's not me. It's not me. It's not me.
Shit because your ego believes it to be shit.
Yeah. My ego is telling me it's shit, but.
Well, check this out, right? Beauty is bullshit. Let me explain, right? Beauty is bullshit. If we was raised in a society where you open magazines and women had big cone heads and big pointy noses, women would be going out to get surgery to get big cone heads and big pointy noses.
What's a cone head?
I don't know, like a big shape, cone shape house. I don't know, whatever. If you think about over the time, right, years and years and years ago, when I was younger, it was size 0, so everyone was like being dead stick thin. Now all of a sudden they're doing these lips, so everyone's getting all these lips. Years and years before that, there was like different things.
What's that
You
going
know,
on in England? Like, it's not happening here. I'm seeing it on the internet. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on with people's
shouldn't
faces?
laugh, no judgment.
It shouldn't, but it's insane because well, I mean, this is just my relative opinion, but they look so much more beautiful before. And I mean, I think that beauty comes in that not wanting to change themselves. That is beautiful. Even them,
Yeah.
them loving themselves, not even themselves, but accepting the body that they're in as they are, and not identify. It's hard to do that when you don't know anything about it. When you're plugged into this thing.
It's just the conditioning. People need to become aware that the things that we read, the things that we watch, our social circles. You show me your friends, and I'll tell you your future. You show me the music you watch. That you show me the music you listen to, the books that you read. Show me your friend circle, and I'll tell you your future.
Yeah.
Because you become all these things. So when you're watching Love Island and all these programs where women are portrayed and sexualized with big lips and big fake boobs and the camera's zooming in on these big boobs and these bums and lips, no wonder men are all the way they are, and no wonder women are all the way they are, because they are trying to conform to what they believe or what they are being told is beautiful, and it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
I've had to. Since I've been in New Zealand for almost a year and a half, I've only been hanging around with spiritual people, more or less, and I just feel so calm all the time. I've stopped doing pretty much everything for almost 2 years. I've been completely straight edge, nearly the whole time. There's been a couple of little now and then things, but
that's okay.
I'm just so calm. But I mean, I'm thinking about coming back to the UK to start a mental health movement, like a serious thing. And I'm already anxious. I'm already anxious because it's. I think that actually creating. I don't know how you've done it. I mean, I've seen some of our mutual friends, so I can imagine where you've come from, and how you've actually set up a safe container within. Where are you based in? Lincoln.
Lincoln, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you've done it, but I'm sure it can be done.
I think in life, I've done a lot of videos about this stuff actually, and I think in life, when we try and detach ourselves from things, so I have this theory called repeat or evolve. So we learn lessons, repeat lessons over and over and over again until we learn these lessons, and once we learn, we evolve. We never have to learn them lessons again because we've learned them. But during the transition period, when we're trying to break away from old friends, from relationships, the ego and the universe, or whatever you may be, the creator or the energy of life, will put in place situations to test you, to make sure that you have broken away from these situations, places and people. And that's why it's so easy for people to fall back. That's why it's so easy for addicts to relapse. It's why it's so easy for people to go back to toxic relationships, because the transition period from going from actually I figured this doesn't nourish me anymore, to the evolution, this period here, the transition period, is a very rocky, difficult time. We're going through it now with this virus thing. Everybody's now having to transition into the idea of being at home and not going out. That you're literally changing your entire aspect of life in this transition period. And after it's transitioned, everyone will settle. Everyone will find new habits. Everyone will create a new way of living. Everyone will settle into it. And then when we go back to work, there's going to be another transition period where everyone's like, oh, I can't bother to go to work. I'll go back. So, see, our ability to adapt as a creature, as a species, is absolutely unquestioned. It's the best out of all the creatures on the planet. Our ability to adapt as a creature to our surroundings is unquestioned. But we allow our minds to tell us too much negativity. We allow our minds to tell us we're in the wrong place. We shouldn't be doing this. It makes us. It gives us. It puts us under pressure. Right, I'm trying to meditate. So this book's told me to do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Right, so I'm going to lay there, meditate. my mind's talking to me. I'm not meditating. Oh no, I'm gonna try again. Oh, my mind's not meditating. The book told me, let me read the book again. Oh look, I can't meditate. Now the thing is, it's not about following a set of rules or a set of listing instructions. It's about just not putting yourself under pressure and letting go, surrendering to the idea that everything has to be a specific way, because everything just is exactly how it should be in this moment right now. There's nothing that can be altered right now in this moment, but your reactions and responses will have an effect on what comes next.
I think that word's just the biggest word. Almost, it's not the biggest word, but it's one. It's up there. Surrender. You know.
Nah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's attachment as well. Surrender, attachment. These things are just massive. Surrendering to not being attached to these things. I mean, what do you surrender to? Well, there's a question, and it can get pretty woo woo and a bit far out, because I have my beliefs and everybody has theirs. So I'm not going to get I'm not going to go too much into that. But you know, everybody can sort of agree on some common things, and not being attached to things is, well, attachment's one of our biggest problems. That causes so much suffering, because when we come attachment, then you have that problem with that frustration when it's not going your way, and everybody's getting a serious dose of that. I don't know if you watched that lecture that I sent you by Chariadas about this too shall pass, and he's talking about, you think about the first 50 years of the 20th century, you had World War One, which was heavy, World War Two, which was just ridiculous. You know, like the amount of people that died got affected. Almost everyone knew someone who had died. Everyone went and had to stand in trenches in the winter with gangrene feet, and that's fucked. You had polio, you had Spanish flu, and these people were having to constantly have to adapt and change. And human beings, they're you know, we're amazing for actually adapting and changing. But when you've had 60, 70 years of, you know, being entitled and, you know, thinking that you are the central enjoyer of this place, like you're here just to enjoy this all by yourself, you know, satisfy your senses, and that's the entire point of life, and there's nothing that shook you up. We're struggling now. I mean, this is hard for some people. What's going on now? Like relatively, this is difficult, but
It's really hard. You know, I ask people, I always ask people, I ask my clients this question, and I'll tell you why it's hard for a lot of people, because, well, my belief of why I think it's hard for a lot of people, the voice that we hear in our head every single day is our voice. You know, we hear our voice, it speaks to us every day. And I always say this, I always say, if that voice in your head was a physical person, would you socialize with it? And everybody goes, no. I won't listen the way it speaks to me. There's no way in this world I'd sit and have a pint with it.
complete prick.
And I'm like, that's why we're struggling right now, because we're having to sit with our thoughts.
Yeah.
And we hate the reason that we don't hate our thoughts before all this happened is because we are distracted by Love Island, by the video games, by the entertainment, by all, I call it the beautiful lies of life, not beautiful lies, the beautiful lies of life, the news, the entertainment, Emmerdale, all the soaps on TV, or the Love Island, My Neighbour's New Car. We're distracted, so we don't think about our thoughts. But then when we're sat on our own at night time, that's why people struggle to sleep, because the mind starts speaking to them, because it's not distracted anymore. And that's why people are struggling, man, because they're actually having to sit at home and deal with their own thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I know how I've cured that in a sense, apart from the fact that obviously meditating and doing all these things, but I mean, it all comes back to the same thing. Is instead of thinking about myself, I think about how I can serve others, and that it's literally almost as simple as that. When I'm having a shitty time, I'm thinking about myself, and I'm being self-centered. I'm the center of it, and I'm thinking about what's for me, and I'm in a state of lack. Like my glass is half full, and as soon as my glass is half empty, it's like, oh, what can I do to solve this problem, and what can I do for other people? And that's just like bang, straight out of that selfish mindset. I'm not straight out of that neurosis, not anxious anymore because I don't want anything for me. I want to give instead of take, and that's just like boom, straight out of it every time.
Oh yeah, no question. You can pull yourself out of it in an instant. I speak to people about one of the most basic tools I use at the beginning of my coaching is affirmations. We spoke earlier about how you can speak your day into existence. So when we get up in the morning and we go, I'm tired, I can't be bothered, or when these things happen throughout the day, we are tired, we're clock watching, we speak our day into existence. So in the morning, I get people to write 3 affirmations, be it today's going to be a beautiful day, today I'm going to pick up something creative, today I'm going to do a random act of kindness, 3 things. But the first one's always today's going to be a good day. And I get them to repeat these things before they pick up the phone, before they look at the TV, before they do anything. Repeat these 3 things 20 times. It takes you a minute, less than 60 seconds to repeat these 3 things 20 times, and watch how you change your day just from something as simplistic as rewiring the mind first thing in the morning.
Yeah. I think is it abracadabra means I create as I speak. I think
Spells, yeah.
I
Speak
think
into existence.
that's up pretty much. So the one thing I worry about. It's another attachment problem. Is like I'm gonna have a good day. I think you can say that, and I think you can make it happen. But I think it's really important to accept that having a bad day is all right.
It's okay, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
The thing is with everyone, people say to me, they say, Kyle, how can you be positive all the time? Like, you know, is there anything bad that ever happens? And I'm like, yeah, of course, man. Like, sometimes weekly, on a weekly basis, there'll be some bad situations that happen in my life. But if something bad's happened in my life, instead of victimizing myself instantly, I look at things now and go, right, what is this situation trying to teach me? So I extract the lesson from the situation that's negative, so I don't get the result next time, because I know that the less that I extract the lesson from that negative result. So if that's the case, then how is anything, even if it starts off as negative, if you can extract a lesson and then never have to experience that experience again, how has that really ended up negative? It's always going to be positive. There's always going to be a positive end to it, so long as you can extract lessons from said negative situation.
yeah, yeah. Good. I mean, in terms of good and bad, it's only that good and bad's only dependent on what you want. It's only good or bad depending on whether good or bad's more or less desirable or undesirable. That's pretty much
Yeah,
what that means to people.
and it's tailored to each individual, isn't it?
Yeah,
Everyone has different wants and everyone has different needs. It's like earlier you was talking about surrendering. So I know you didn't want to talk about it, but I'm gonna. So right, there's 2 things human beings have sole control over. You, me, and everyone listening to this, and everyone out there. You only have control over 2 things, and one of them you find it hard to believe, but one of them's are your own actions, and the other one's your own thoughts. You have control over nothing else. You can have an influence, but you have no control over anything else. Nothing. So if you have no control over anything else, surely that it must seem easy to surrender to said circumstance if you relinquish control. It's the idea that, oh no, I can control that. If I think about it that hard, and I expect it to happen this way that hard, it might work out. But what if it doesn't? Just surrender to it. Hope to get the desired outcome. But if it doesn't happen, it's out of your control. You've relinquished yourself of the control. The only thing that attaches itself to the control side of things is the ego. I want this to happen this way, or it's not happening at all. I want it to happen this way, or I'm a bit pissed off. This is a good one, man. I'll be happy when. I've been like, you can be driving a distance with your friend in the car, yeah? Say you're traveling for 3 hours and you pick your friend up and he's a bit mad, he's upset, he's tired, and he'll turn around to you in conversation and he'll go, oh, do you know what, James? I'll be happy when we get there because I know we're going to have a good day out, so I'll be happy when I get there. Why not be happy now? You know you're going to be happy within 2 hours' time when you reach a specific destination. So why go through the 2-hour journey of not being happy until you reach the destination? Because you are speaking your day again into existence. You've told yourself you're not going to be happy in this journey. Happiness is not a fucking destination.
happiness isn't the goal at all, in my opinion. It's just not. It's just not the fucking point. I can see that in your own life, that being happy or unhappy is just irrelevant because you dedicate so much of your life to making other people's lives better. that's more important to you than happiness or unhappiness. And even if you're unhappy, you're going to get up and you're going to go and do it because you know that it needs to be done.
Mate, I have delivered motivational speeches when I have been in really low places in my own mind, man. I have delivered speeches in front of universities, in front of hundreds of people, in front of directors of companies, big, heavy motivational speeches when I have felt low. But the reason I've done it is because I know what it feels like to feel that way, and I don't want other people to feel that way. And I know there is a way out of it. And I know for a fact if I don't feel good in that moment while I'm delivering that speech, I know, as we were speaking about earlier, this too shall pass. Just like hot and just like cold. If it's cold and you're undesirable of the cold, just know eventually it will become warm again. If it's raining outside and you're undesirable of the rain, just know that eventually the rain is going to pass, then it will be sunny again. But we trap ourselves in this idea that, oh my God, it's raining. Oh, I hate the rain. Oh God, it's cold. I can't stand the cold. And you never look for what's about to come. You never look for the better things that are going to come in life or can come.
I recently watched the film about Gandhi, which is from like 1980 something and the early 80s, and they've done such a good job of it. It's incredible. But you think about these great people like Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, all these absolutely phenomenal personalities, and you look at what their lives look like. These people, Nelson Mandela, I think 27 years in prison. Gandhi got imprisoned like 3 times. He took absolute beatings in the face of the British. I can't think of the bloody word, Jesus. But in the British Empire, and he starved himself to almost to death twice because he believed in non-violence so much that he was prepared to just die so that people stopped fighting, and he succeeded, and he freed the Hindus and the Muslims of South Africa and India through great austerity and like serious austerity. And you look at them like that's a great person, and he was happy most of the time, I believe, and actually joyful because he knew that what he was doing, despite being that there was no sense pleasure, it was the opposite end of the spectrum of him being the self-centered, the center of his sense pleasure enjoyment. He was he was seriously going through some austerity and not pleasuring himself. He wasn't the first thing, he was putting everything else before that. That I look at that, I want to be like that.
It's purpose. It's finding purpose.
Yeah.
There is always purpose in serving people because when you help other people, when you help other people attain what they want to attain in life or help them get out of a sticky situation, there's like an insurance policy on that. The universe will, in turn, in time, you will find there's an insurance policy on that. There's an insurance belt on that. You are kind and good to people. You will never ever really you'll always receive a likewise circumstance from the universe. You'll always be served back what you have given out. Trust me, I know, because when I used to be a bad human being, man, that's all I ever got served back was badness, darkness, destruction, pain. I don't. These are my beliefs, and these are what work for me. But the unquestionable to a degree. If you put goodness in this world, if you help people in this world, like we said earlier, to diminish hate, you feed it love. If you feed people motivation, you feed people emotional intelligence, you feed people the things that are going to help them, guide them through their troubled waters. That is purpose. There's no desire for me to do this for riches and fame. I know for a fact that my life, if I serve my life purpose, my life will be beyond joyous. I will never ever I will never wake up a day and wonder, what am I doing? What I need to be doing something different. I need to get a better job. I need to have more stuff. I need to have more money. I don't give a shit. If I'm living by my purpose, I am continually fulfilled, continually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so long as I'm serving people and helping people through the storm. But I'm a fighter from birth, from my adoption. I have fought with myself. I have fought with my own mind. I have fought with the establishment. I have fought with friends, family, everything. I have been a fighter from day one. I am here to fight for those people who struggle themselves, and I will fucking fight to the bitter end. I tell you, I will fight to the bitter end for anybody.
That's good.
Just
Someone needs to. Someone needs to with the shit state of affairs of this world, man.
It's changing. The world's changing, man. I have every faith in the world that we're going through a transition period at the minute, and this is my belief again. I'm going to share my belief. I believe we're going through a conscious evolution, an evolution of consciousness. And people are starting to wake up to the fact that it ain't all about the BMW and the fucking money in the bank. It's about each other. It's about our family members. It's about our friends. It's about our human species. It's not about where I'm from. It ain't about the colour of my skin. It ain't about where I was born, how much money my parents have in the bank. None of that fucking matters. It's absolute obsolete. It's just been placed there to segregate people. Oh, your skin colour is this, so you must hate this skin colour. You was born with money, so you must hate the poor. You was born British, so you must hate the Germans. It's fucking madness. It's absolute madness when we're all here for one specific thing, and that is to live life to our thorough and true, to our purpose, to our understanding of love and kindness. Everyone in the world, love is the currency, man. Love is the currency to the world.
I totally agree with that. The only thing I'm not sure about, I completely agree with everything apart from the very first part, which I'm not sure about. And that's like since I've moved into the world that I have, and sort of unplugged from the material world as much as I can, as much as I'm on a path of steady determination. So I'm not going from 0 to 100 straight away. You can't do that. But I'm slowly unplugging from it, and everyone around me as well. I have the same. It looks the same. I'm seeing the same thing as you, where everything around me is real positive, but I know that for most people it's not, and I don't have that much optimism in this place sorting itself out. Really, I feel like this is a place where people do suffer because because of self-centeredness, because of identifying with the false ego, and because of but it's you said something amazing in this podcast, in that last podcast I listened to. Where is it? Healing from trauma makes you a lighthouse for the rest of the world. That's something you said when you're speaking to Brad, and I don't imagine this place is going to get sorted at all. But what I do think is like people like you and me who can navigate through this chaos reasonably well and have been through a bit of shit. I think we can make a big difference, and I think that so many people who take the time to listen to this, that they can make a difference as well. Because there's a lot of people who are just sick of this shit, because there's so much suffering in this world through people's own causing of their own mind, and blame and anger and frustration, and it brings me so much joy to be able to put that message out there and help as many people as possible. It really is absolutely amazing. And the people that you find, the people that you find on that journey as well, like, I would never have, come across you or so many other people. And it's just like when you do embark on that journey, when you do, the process of karma yoga, it's about giving up the fruits of your actions. So it's about literally not wanting anything back from everything you do and devoting your life to a higher purpose. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole process of that. And through doing that, you start just serving other people. And serving means that service is love, because you want nothing in return from service. Sorry, what was you going to say before I interrupted you?
No, sorry, mate. I was going to go on to the idea of, we talk about a lot of destruction, and I want to try and number one, we have to have faith that the universe will change as a collective. There's a big conscious evolution happening, because I didn't believe it before, but you have to believe it to bring it into fruition. So I have this understanding that to understand the meaning of life, you have to to a degree, go through destruction and pain. Because without the destruction and pain, how could you ever experience the opposite? How could you ever know what the true meaning of life is if you do not understand what it isn't about? The destruction, the pain, the war, the depression. You have to understand this. You have to experience this to understand and navigate towards an evolution of understanding of where we should be going. And that's why I massively believe that we have had to go through war, depression, disease, and all this terrible stuff. I know people might boycott me for saying that, but whatever created this world, God, however you see it, the universe, the universal energy, it cannot create an individuality without it having experience. You can't create an individuality out of nothing. It has to have experience to understand itself and be created as an individual, like you, like me, like anybody. To create individuality, you have to go through experience. So does that mean that sometimes we have to go through experiences when it comes down to destruction, pain, trauma? I believe so, because once you have understood that side of things, you know where life is, you know where life should be, you know where you should be in life, and what the true purpose of life is, because you have understood the destruction of life, the destruction, the pain. You have to feel that to understand that there is an opposite effect to this. It's called what I call duality. We've had to go. I believe we've had to go through all this. We've had to fully understand what life is all about. And that's why I truly do believe, and I have every faith, that we are going through a big conscious evolution at the minute. Is it going to be tricky? Hell yeah. Is it going to be a difficult transition? Hell fucking yeah. Is society and the system going to try and tailor itself to try and suppress us further? Hell yeah. But I just think that the conscious evolution is happening at such a fast pace now that the system and the people who create legislations that suppress us are not going to be able to keep up, because the evolution's happening too quick, because of all the destruction and pain that they've put themselves through. Evolution only ever takes a creature from a state of stress, from a stressful environment. Evolution only will ever help that creature adapt to that stressful environment, yeah? So because of the stress and the pain and the greed and everything that's going on, we are now adapting to understand, and we're adapting to become more powerful to overcome that stress, that environment. The evolution is taking us from that stressful environment and helping us adapt and create something new. That's what I believe, anyway.
Yeah, I do believe. I mean, I don't know in concretely in this, but there does certainly appear to be a collective consciousness. When you look at, you got Boris Johnson and Donald Trump as president of the world, and then shit's all going south. It's all. You look at what's going on in the material world, and you're like, is this real? Yeah. Is this real? Like this, like the real sort of like official, genuine world looks like a reality TV show. It's mental, and you're like, yeah, something's. And I've been thinking for a long time, like something has to give here. Like something's going to happen, because this is fucked up.
It will give.
Yeah, and I think so many people are sick of materialism, like. Especially now that with the internet and things have got really started pretty much spying on you and delivering you all these adverts and things and just triggering you, and your desires start completely controlling you. You're getting told to drink this, do that, blah blah blah, buy this, buy that. Everyone's gonna have no money, and they're just constantly, their mind's just going to be constantly just like. And they must be sick of it. And I mean, obviously I'm in New Zealand and I've travelled around a lot. People are like, oh, you got Facebook? We're like, no. Yeah. People are just wanted to completely unplug. I mean, there's so many people that haven't and probably won't. But I think people genuinely are starting to realise that they're suffering really, really badly.
And they're evolving.
Yeah.
No question, they're evolving. We will evolve, mate. Yeah. You think about this, right? You think about this. Hundreds of years ago, we used to feed Christians to lions at Roman Colosseums, and it was okay. I'd take my kids to watch the Christians get fed to lions, and it was deemed okay. But there was a point where everyone went, hold on a minute, this isn't fucking quite right. And then we had the slave trade. We sold people of colour for money. And everyone was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But there was a point where everyone went, hold on a minute, this ain't quite right. We burnt witches at the stake. And there was a point where people went, hold on a minute, this ain't quite right. There is always a point after suppression where collectively, the collective consciousness goes, hold on a minute, this ain't quite fucking right. And we're getting to that point, mate. I'm telling you, we're getting there.
One point that has to be raised in the middle of all that is that whilst people are slagging off capitalism and just giving it absolute grief, because some people are getting super rich and people are getting envious and jealous, actually, because everybody's not focused on completely exploiting each other, because people exploit themselves now. People are just like, oh, I'll just give away my money, I'm just going to constantly... And people realise that they can actually take from these people without needing to enslave them, because they've got them enslaved in a different way, which I believe is more humane. And you can go on holiday, you can, buy as much as you can with what you can afford from what you've worked for, and you can have an iPhone, and you can do all these things that before you couldn't do that without these things. So, there's some serious pros and cons to these things, but it's built on... At the end of the day, there's all these isms that just aren't going to fix any problems, is there? The only thing that's actually going to fix problems is spiritual consciousness and true understanding of who you are and what you're doing, and not realizing that you're here to pleasure the senses, because this is just going to suck everything out of you, because you're just going to be going along thinking, oh, I need this, I need, and it's going to completely exploit you. Acharya Das gave a lecture about this as well. He's saying they kept going through, in America, they went through these two major depressions after the war. In fact, it might have been before that. I'm paraphrasing, I'm probably getting things wrong. But there was this chap, and they basically said, what we need to do is we need to completely remodel the whole system, so that everything is advertised based on greed and desire. So we need to make people completely full of desire, greed, envy, jealousy, all these things, so that they just consume. Yeah. And if you do look at any piece of advertising, they're pretty much saying, oh, your neighbour's got this or they've got that, and they're just trying to trigger you into... And it makes people really selfish. It makes people withdraw and not want to... it's just a terrible thing. It's like the opposite end of the spectrum, and that's pretty much what this whole capitalist model is actually built on. And in a way, it works, but it will pop. And it's sad to think that the whole thing's built upon the opposite of what's ever going to make anybody joyful.
It's how you control people. It's how you control fear of themselves. Like you say, the extension of ego, which is like advertisements. Buy the new iPhone and you will be cooler, and you'll have a better social standing if you have the newest iPhone, or if you buy these brogues, or you buy this fucking car, you'll have a better social standing. So your ego goes, oh my God, I must be better. I need to buy these fucking shoes, or need to buy this phone or this car to have a better social standing. And it's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit.
Well, it's interesting because they actually solved like a lot of material problems for a period of time. Like we stopped going through these major depressions. Everybody had money. Everybody's got more stuff than they've ever had before. Yeah, the suicide rate, I think in 2016 or something, it was like 800,000 people killed themselves. In this year, it's estimated to be 1.5 million. So it's just going up and up.
The more that you give people, the more materialistic stuff you tell people they need, the more they will seek outside of themselves, and they will never be fulfilled. They'll be chasing forever for something outside of themselves that will never fulfill them, and that's why we want to kill ourselves. Yeah. Because we're continually searching for something that's never. There's no end to that delivery, because once the iPhone 10 comes out, 6 months later the iPhone 11 comes out, 6 months later the iPhone 12 comes out. So people are continually chasing, I need this new thing, I need to look this certain way, I need to have a six-pack, I need to have big lips, I need to have this, I need to have that. So once we do these things, and then the next thing comes out, we go, oh my God, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. And you continually in a state of I do not fit in, I have not got a social structure, I've not got a social standing, sorry, I am not worthy of in my relationship, I'm not worthy in my social circle because I've not got the cooler car, and it's just a big bag of bullshit.
Yeah. It's learning that these things, obviously you have to nourish your body. Obviously you need to do some exercise. Obviously you need to go to work and feed your kids. Like that's just not, there's no question about that. But as soon as you get greedy and you take more than you need and you do things more than you need and you do things that are obviously not serving your own body, you start to suffer from these things massively. And you realize that when you do things in excess, that actually this is not the food that your soul needs, because it just
No.
actually does the opposite. It actually disturbs the mind and makes you suffer from it. And we've learned from doing this service and helping other people that actually the food that our soul does need, that actually makes you feel whole inside, is helping other people, being of service, being kind and compassionate, and all these things that actually nourishes you on the inside, like your soul. That actually, and you don't even want to go out and
You feel
like
it.
you feel it. You feel full, and sometimes I
You
sit
literally
there.
feel it inside it. It's energy. You
Yeah,
literally feel it inside you. You feel it.
it's nice to sit there and think, shit, I don't need anything right now.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I
No,
never felt that.
mate, right now in this moment, I have everything I need. I've got a full belly. I've just had some really nice food. I've got a roof over my head. And mate, I have more than I need, mate. And I have, in a lot of people's eyes, I have very little. But I have so much more than I specifically need right now in this moment, mate. And like I said, there's so many people who'd look at the way I live and they'd be like, no, you ain't got a lot. I'm like, well, mate, I've got 10 times more than what I need right now. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean? The only thing that I need is good love and compassion, man.
it's funny because I split up with a partner about 9. It was a while ago, between
Yeah,
6 and 9 months ago. I just sort of like I'd become quite anxious in that relationship. I'd become quite self-centered, and I just went and I was just like, right, I'm just gonna serve everybody, whatever. I'm just gonna, if something needs to be done, then I see something to do, the opportunity, I'm just gonna offer, give, and not ask for anything back. And
mm,
and I lived in my van, and it was basic. It was so basic. It was just like a bit of wood and a set of drawers from the charity shop, and that was pretty much it. And
yeah.
I've had the most profoundly wonderful
I
past few
bet.
months of my life, and it's just been I've been so happy like the whole time. It's been which is, and I felt joyful, and for the first time since I was a kid, it's been mental. Since I've
Yeah,
not been wanting anything. And then I was so unbelievable. I haven't got a lot, I've just got a few my stuff in my van. I hardly worked for that time because I've just been like making content and focusing on this. So I just like completely broke almost. And then someone said, "Oh, do you want to come and do some decking at my house?" So I've been doing a deck for this bloke out the back of his house. And then this whole
yeah,
thing happened, and he's like, he has this granny flat. He's like, "Oh, do you want to stay here?" And I mean, I've just been completely provided for without even, I've not worried about it, and it's just like, oh, it's just happened, and now I'm sat, very comfortably in this house, and it's just been, it's just beautiful. When you just give, it just happens, and I don't think that you need to, as you say, project too far into the future and get anxious about these things. I just, my solution to anxiety and what I'm doing with my life is I just follow the breadcrumbs. Just follow breadcrumbs.
yeah,
That's it. There's not really much more to it.
yeah. No, you're
Yeah,
right, man. It's the meaning of life, mate. In this moment right now, how can I be helping other people? And if you make that choice every single moment, every single day of your life, you don't even have to worry about tomorrow. You don't have to worry about next week because trust me, it all falls into place.
yeah, man. I think that's a beautiful place to end. We've done an hour there. I reckon that me and you could, do a Skype call, interview every single day.
I think we
Um,
could,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, it's been wicked talking to you. Massively, massively inspired by your example. It's really cool, and
Very grateful. And I'm inspired by yours as well, mate.
yeah, wicked. So yeah, we'll have to keep in touch, and Yeah, as I said, I sent you that thing about starting a serious movement in the UK, which is going to be it's going to be intense for me to come back there. But maybe it's going to be a little bit further away from Lincolnshire. But I'd like to start
When
something.
you're back, shout me up, man. You get me. I'd love to be involved, mate. I'd
Yeah,
love to
bro.
be involved.
Sweet as. Thank you so much. Take
It's
it
been a
easy, mate.
pleasure, man.
And
All
you.
the best.
Thank you.
Cheers.